going on, everybody? Dev Del Molino here, the synthesizer of opinions. I'm back with another review, and today we're doing a 65432 on the latest Justin Timberlake album, Man of the Woods. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I do like me some JT. I haven't been like a super faithful album by album listener, but damn it, I do love me some JT. Now, 65432, I have 6-ish minutes to tell you 5 things to know about Justin Timberlake and the Man of the Woods album. I'll be telling you what my 4 favorite tracks of this album were. I'll be describing this album with 3 adjectives, and finally I'm left with 2 possible ratings to give the album. Is the album hot or not? With that being said, let's go ahead and talk about JT and the new album. Justin Timberlake, we've known for a long time. He's been around as a pop culture force for several years now, as a musician, as an actor, as other things that he does. I mean, the dude is just talented. He's done a great job of keeping himself in the limelight, even if he decides to step away from it for a year or 2 at a time. So we've seen him through a lot of stages of his life and his career. We've seen Justin as a child, and then as a teenager. We've seen him as a young man, and now he's an old guy. He is a dad, he's a husband, and I think that element of things takes on a focal point of its own. And even in titling the album, his kid, Silas, is named such for Man of the Forest. And then, of course, we get Man of the Woods out of that. Something else that I think a lot of people don't know about Justin Timberlake is that he's from Memphis, Tennessee. So he's from the South, he's from the Central South. And while I have seen him implement that influence into some of his music, I haven't seen him do it across the span of like an entire album yet, which seems to be another focal point of this project. So we have 2 different dynamics playing into this album. The first is the older, more rugged, monogamous, and paternal Justin Timberlake. And with that, we're getting a Justin Timberlake who really wants to root himself where home is. So Justin seems to be falling back on his southern roots for some musical inspiration. So then we can go ahead and get into my 4 favorite tracks off of this album. And I gotta say, it was a little hard to pick 4 songs because I'm gonna be entirely real in saying that there's 3 that I really, really like, and the rest of this album is just okay to meh to not very good. For the first of 4 tracks, Young Man, the closing song on this album, was one that I liked. I thought it was a nice track. Moving up a spot, number 3, Man of the Woods is another song that I think has a great tune to it. I enjoy the instrumental being really bare and only driven by these really rubbery 808s. And I've heard Justin do a number of these songs where the beat is really scaled back to the point where it's Justin's showmanship that sort of takes front stage on the song. Now, the next song on my list at number 2, Living Off the Land, I think brings up a really interesting point about what is wrong with this album is done really well on this song. So right off the bat, I'm just going to say the biggest problem that I have with this album is Justin unconvincingly going in a direction on this project that is very different than what he has done and has been known for in the past. You know, the way this album was created and written and stylized, it felt like we were supposed to be getting a folkier, older, more southern, rugged Justin Timberlake. And what we're getting is just like the Justin Timberlake that we've always known through a different lens and a different aesthetic. I don't feel like the music is actually changing. And because of that, I think this album just comes off very disingenuous. The only thing that really holds up for this album in terms of what Justin seems to be committing to is an aesthetic choice. And overall, it's just paper thin. But I do think on this song, Living Off the Land, we get a really nice amalgamation of this Americano style, that folky country R&B fusion that he's trying to put together. Over the course of the entirety of this project, it's done well once. It starts with the instrumental. It's neatly written, it's tightly produced, and then from there, the writing and the song structure and JT's vocals come together in a way that makes this thing sound holistic, particularly in the working man's lyrics. I feel like I'm actually getting a different spin on Justin Timberlake, the musician, the person. And then when we're taking all these sounds and influences on this instrumental, they're tightly wound together by, I think, some Timbaland production. And just to reiterate this point, this song is what the rest of the album should be sounding like, and it doesn't. Now, for my number 1 favorite song off of this album, I have to give it to the Alicia Keys featured record, Morning Light. This song is lovely. It's written beautifully, and I think the performances by Alicia and by Justin, they just come off sounding really pleasant, really soft. This song is really within Justin's wheelhouse, I think. I could honestly see this song being on some of his other albums if it was written for some of his other albums. It is the standout song for me as a listener on this project and what I think will resonate with other fans for the most part. And yeah, it's probably going to be one of very few songs that I'm returning to this album more and more as I'm done reviewing it. So, 3 adjectives to describe this album. The first is this idea, this notion of this album being more rugged. But in listening to, getting into the nitty-gritty, and analyzing this album and its music, I'm not convinced. It's unconvincing. That's the word I wanted to use. Unconvincing. So, because of that, the next adjective that describes this album is Justin Timberlake seeming a bit foolish at times. In listening to this album, I couldn't help but want to compare it to the very transformative Childish Gambino album, Awaken My Love. As we are all aware, for Childish Gambino, this album was very out of left field. I think one thing that needs to be made clear about that album compared to this one is that Donald dives down that rabbit hole to find a completely new sound. And he does this from bookend to bookend. I think to make an album like this work, you need to have a little more gall. You need to be a little more daring in the creative process of this project. I normally don't do this, but if I had to give it a score, again, not all of it is terrible. Well, it's not an awful album. It's really just not that good. It just sounds so misguided. But that's gonna be it for me. I wanna know. Give me some adjectives to describe this album, if you will. Tell me what your favorite tracks off of this album were. If you have least favorites, go ahead and tell me those as well. Please leave those down in the comment section. Then go follow me at 40ounces.of.dev on Instagram, Twitter at Dev Del Molino. I'm reviewing more and more music on that Instagram, so make sure you go there, follow, like, comment, discuss with me, please. And that's going to be it for me. I have been Dev Del Molino with his hair down for once. You have been so wonderful for watching, as always. And remember, art without favor is like not moisturizing nearly enough.